Do you realize what a miracle it is? I'm sitting here, so many miles away from any of you. And you hear me and I hear you. And I want to talk to you about Mother's Day, what it meant, because in my case, it was so unusual. Today I'm giving myself a gift. I'm painting where it's dry. And I can put things and they'll show up. This is my day of giving myself a gift. Okay? This is my girl Zenaida. She was my art student many, many years ago.
Where is she now?
Right over here. I'm just working on her hands because now it is so dry that I can do anything. And then I'm going to show you and tell you her story. Okay? What I am doing, I want to tell you her story at the same time. Many, many years ago, and in a way, I had written about it because I was painting the Plaza Hotel, and a lady came up to me and she said, "Could you give my daughter art classes?" And this was a time when white people and black or brown people or Chinese people were afraid to approach white people because there was so much prejudice. And they didn't feel comfortable with white people. So when the mother came up to me and she asked, I was so flattered that she had the courage in that time of cruel segregation. She came up to me and I said, I would love it. The only thing is, I would have to teach her in my business because I don't have room in my home. And at that time, we had the Follow Your Art frame shop. And little Zenaida sat there. She was brought there, and she would sit down with my dog and draw my dog, Shan, named after Chandelay, which was the river upstate. And I admired that child so, because nothing fazed her. She was so brave because my dog kept turning all the time. And she did it anyway. Little Zenaida never gave up. And little Zenaida didn't realize how bright she was because she had dyslexia. And people at that time had not identified dyslexia, where pictures and letters move around you and you really can't see. Before this night is over, I'm going to ask Kenny to walk to the living room, to the dining room rather, and he will see two beautiful cards there. And she sent me a Mother's Day card this year and the grandmother card also. Kenny, they're on the table. I forgot them. They're lying right there. They're beautiful. Show the one first with that one.
This one?
Both of them are excellent, whichever you want to.
So this is one.
One is for Mother's Day and one is Grandmother's Day. And this is so many years later. I believe that's about 40 years ago, am I right, Kenny?
Exactly.
When I did the Plaza Hotel. As all of you know, I've been living for a long time, and therefore I have such a history to tell you about. And what I'm doing now, I'm showing her painting a flower. Can you see it, Kenny?
Oh, yes.
Because it's dry, and I get to work on something like this. Because Kenny and I were talking, and Kenny said, Mom, is it possible ever for you to show something in a finished way? And I said, with oil, that's such a serious problem. Because unless it's dry, I can't do shading. And today I can. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Since he sent me the card for Mother's Day and the card for Grandmother's Day, I would very much like to show all of you. But we have no photographs. But I want to tell you what happened when we were celebrating Mother's Day. Kenny, tell me if I'm going to say it correctly.
The High Line.
Yeah. Can you tell about it?
Well, Hetty had never been on the High Line before, which is a New York City park, which is in an abandoned elevated train track and turned into an incredibly beautiful but thin park filled with people and going like right through the heart of the city. Very magical, and Hetty had never been, so she walked like I'd say way over a mile with us on the High Line, and we just loved seeing the buildings that were just designed in incredible ways with glass bulging out and buildings built at incredible angles that are unexpected, and Hetty really got a kick out of all those rules being broken. Do you want to say more about it, Mom?
Just that I can't imagine another city which would let architects say, I want to put a triangle on top of a roof. And to be able to find permission to do so. Not only triangles on the roofs, but balloons and miracles.
And what was it you said about your craziest ideas? What did you say?
Trust your craziest ideas.
Yes.
Allow yourself. Yeah, allow yourself to do the crazy ideas. So, what I would like to do, I would like to talk about something else as well, and that is how to deal with old age. Okay? I have a particular serious problem, which is my hearing. My hearing is so bad that the excellent hearing aids I have to be tuned so high. And because of that, I hear things which cause pain. I hear every sound in the city. I hear every sound in a home. And above all, if you speak to me, if your voice is not quiet, then my hearing aids make it so painful. And so I have been doing this. I have been writing to people who want to come and visit me and saying the only friendships I can have now are what I have with the miracle of my iPad. I can hear you through email only. And I have been writing to people and saying, I cannot speak to you on the phone, but could we be pen pals? Pen pals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just be grateful that there is a machine now that allows us to communicate. And that's why Kenny is doing most of the talking right now and tell you more about what he's been doing with me. Kenny works with people on what is the correct language, Kenny, about what the tapping.
Oh yes, EFT or tapping, which is tapping on certain acupuncture meridian points that is very relaxing, significantly drops the cortisol level in your brain and helps you really get calmer and also connect to your inner resilience and your inner wisdom. So Hetty loves that, and she's been doing it really as a practice every single day, and we talk about it and share about it and do it together too sometimes, because I love tapping. I don't know if anybody else, I know we talked about this before, but I don't know if anybody else does it, but it's a wonderful thing. And Hetty does it and gets really great results and taps into her inner wisdom, which for her is very easy to access. Was that good, Mom?
Yes. Does anybody want to speak about that? Any comments?
Well, there are a number of comments. Fran Rosenberg is watching, and Lori Patton says, "You are amazing. What a wonderful experience. We love the High Line. It is such a magical spot hidden in the city." And Eddie Weedman says, "That is so incredible that you walk the High Line, Eddie. You are just amazing." And Kenny, the best son ever.
With my walker.
With your walker, that's right.
An enthusiastic family urging me on.
Yes, that's right. And Julie Kowalski-Lauer is watching. And Martha is watching. And Dina says, "Hi Ken, I came on late. May I ask what you call it again?" It's called tapping, or EFT, which stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's a very wonderful process with a very large amount of clinical studies corroborating the results, and it's a wonderful thing. So tapping or EFT.
It did miracles for me. Somehow or other, it lifts me from seeing the world the way it is seen by everyone. It makes it personal. I don't know how to explain.
That was good.
But it makes my life understood.
And,
How?
Let's see. So, Megan says, "I would love to email Hetty." And she says, "I do tapping along with gentle yoga practices." And Greg is watching. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
And Martha Bilski is watching. She says, "Hi, Hetty. The High Line is cool. And Marcia Bart Isman says, I've seen and done a small amount of tapping. I think it's wonderful.
It is.
And Martha says Katie did it when she was anxious.
Yes.
And Marcia is watching, I said that, and says, sorry I'm late. And Dina says, thank you. This is wonderful that you both have wonderful results. I will try it. Love you both. Yeah, Dina, it's fabulous. And there's a place called the Tapping Solution. That's probably the best place. And they actually have an app, a Tapping Solution app. And they have huge summits with lots of speakers. So the Tapping Solution. And Dawson Church is a scientist who studies that. And his website is EFT Universe. He's got a lot of material too. And Peta Stapleton is a psychologist in Australia who has done tons of research on this as well. She's wonderful. And Marcia says, so good to see you. Lee says, hi Hetty, we had some kind of communication problem. We weren't picking up your video, but we finally found it.
I have to tell you about Lee. I was walking on the boardwalk once, and Kenny, could you show it right here? This is Lee. And this is Cheryl, and this is the dog Scout. And I was right by that sign, Laser. And Laser is another story that this painting will speak about.
And you have spoken about it.
And you can read about it in what Lee wrote. Lee writes about the people he meets on the boardwalk. And what I admire so much is that he wants to write, and so he writes. He doesn't try to get a publisher. He doesn't need anything from the outside. He just needs to write, and so he writes. And
beautifully he writes. He
yes,
writes beautifully.
Yes. And the thing is, like the buildings on the High Line, if you want to do something, do it. Because he doesn't wait for permission. He just found a way of doing it at no cost. And the funny thing is, I wish I would have known that earlier. I thought I was the only one who wanted to do something and found a way of doing it free of cost when I sat down on Orchard and the Delancey and began to paint New York. And that's what he does with the boardwalk. Kenny, don't forget if there are any comments.
Yes, no, I'm reading them all to you as they come.
Okay. People, comment. Tell me what you've done that you didn't think was possible to do.
So you're asking people to comment on something that they've done that was like a breakthrough for them.
Yes.
That they didn't know previous to doing it that it would be possible, but they did it
yes.
anyway.
And if possible, go to the High Line and watch the buildings that shouldn't exist, because whoever put a triangle on top of a skyscraper and other such
That's the edge. I think you mean the edge. That giant triangle jutting out from the side of a skyscraper?
Yes.
Yes, that's the edge.
Because we humans are all so different from each other. And it is so good to learn about you. Right?
Yes.
Do you know how much I'm able to paint, even though it's wet?
You're doing great, yeah. You're doing
because I gave myself a gift of today. that I am going to paint only on dry places. Where do I go now? Here. I need some red over here. What I'm doing today, because I'm working on the dry, I'm putting colors that are going to stay, which I cannot ever afford when I don't know.
Martha gave an example. She said, I passed symbolic logic in college, LOL. I never thought I could.
Explain that in detail. Because
you're asking her to explain what is symbolic logic, right?
Yes.
Yes. And Megan says, I'm still yearning to learn of this painting that I saw in Newsday about you.
That's this one. But you know, what you saw in Newsday came through him, Lee. When people read what he wrote, they got to know me.
Martha says, because it was math-like, and I have always loathed math.
Yes.
And Martha says, truth, I had to take it twice because I gave up the first time. Oh, and Megan says that the painting she's referring to is the one of two boys studying.
Oh, but that's not my work. But it's so wonderful. You know, when we had a frame shop, we were able to buy things straight from the artist, which cost less. And we fell in love with that man's work. And we bought that piece, but we also sold others of his.
Yes, they presented it as being one of Hetty's, but in fact it wasn't.
Right.
And now Lori says, Hetty, did you see you were in the Oceanside Herald this week on the front page?
Yeah, not the front page, I think the second page.
Maybe the second page in Long Beach, but maybe in Oceanside, the front page.
That could be because I'm in the Oceanside school.
Lori, thanks for telling us, because we saw the Long Beach one, but we did not see the Oceanside front page. How awesome! And Megan says, I adore it, and it led me to you. God is good to me. And Megan's referring to that painting of the two boys studying that they presented as yours, but in fact wasn't.
But yes, it's such a good painting. You know, by the way, Martha, who just spoke and is going to be explaining what that meant, she is a wonderful writer and a wonderful skilled person in so many other things. She can sew outfits, real ones. Do you notice what I'm doing now? I am trying to blend things in such a way that we will eventually have 3 dimensions. And this is my Jessie, my granddaughter. With my daughter's dog.
So, Martha asked, did you speak at the school in
Yes.
Oceanside?
Yes. And I loved it.
And
You know,
speaking, they asked you to speak again, right?
Yes, and I will be going during the week. After the tests are over, They asked me to come again, and I would love to. I must tell you why Oceanside got to me.
Should I review the rest of the comments, though?
Yes.
So Lori Patton said, I will get a copy and send it to you, along with some thank you from the students. Megan says that the painting hangs in her home. Martha says, passing that meant that I could graduate with a philosophy degree. John Taracuso just sent us the article. Thank you, John. And sorry to interrupt.
Who is sorry to interrupt?
Me, because you were saying something.
Oh. Are we saying goodbye to each other?
Not yet. You have 2 more minutes.
Okay. Then I do want to say one more thing. New York City is a very different world because it allowed immigrants to come. And now when the world has shut all its doors, and people wander the world and nobody lets them in. And I am alive because Panama let us in during the Hitler times. And I just read an article which said that Panama is also closing doors. And I think to myself, what do I think? Fear as we shut our doors. And you can't say that there isn't enough space. There are no excuses.
Yes. Thank you for speaking up.
And I love all of you. And thank you. See you next Monday.